My initial research for the film noir project came mostly from watching both noir and neo-noir films and identifying the key conventions, as well as general research surrounding the history of the style. The conventions I looked at was ones such as the femme fatale and other archetypal characters such as the fall guy, the use of camera, voiceovers, smoking, flashbacks and themes. I watched a combination of classic noir and neo-noir films such as Stranger on the Third Floor, Detour, Body Heat, Blade Runner, LA Confidential and Brick. Following in-depth analyses of both Stranger on the Third Floor and Brick, which can be found on my blog, I found that it was the neo-noir style that I preferred to the classic, and that was what I wanted to reflect within our film, and thankfully my group agreed, so that's what we chose in producing The Correspondent. Watching existing noir films was particularly useful in allowing me to recognise the strong conventions of film noir and deciding collectively which ideas that we wanted to use within our Correspondent film. There were certain conventions of film noir that I felt paramount to be included within our noir short, such as the use of a femme fatale and a dark crime-related narrative, as these are the conventions that I found to be most effective when watching existing film noirs, and they're ones that we've made sure we incorporated into The Correspondent. There are additional things such as the use of a dark colour palette within Brick, which was had a blue hue and was desaturated, and that worked really well, and we did use that within our film. And also within LA Confidential they use a newspaper at the start, and that was an idea that was battered around. We didn't use that in the end, but our film was based around a newspaper story, so we did incorporate that a bit. And Stranger on the Third Floor is additionally press related because that's set in a press office, and the protagonist is a reporter like Scott is in ours. Our character of Scott, a 22-year-old intern at a press office, serves as the archetypal fall guy of The Correspondent and can be likened to the character of Ned in Body Heat and reporter Michael Ward within Stranger on the Third Floor. Within Body Heat, Ned is set up by the devious femme fatale Mattie regarding the murder of her husband and winds up in prison, a similar narrative to that of our film, minus the murder. In The Stranger on the Third Floor, despite the absence of a femme fatale, reporter Michael Ward still serves as the fall guy as he is arrested for his investigations into a murder case. The use of a fall guy within our film allows the femme fatale to look even more devious and more cunning, especially as the use of a young and innocent intern elevates the audience's sympathy for him, which works really well. Our femme fatale comes in the form of Robin Taylor, a 28-year-old reporter at the press office. Both her age and job status make it so that she is superior to Scott from the beginning of the film, which was indicated by Scott's introduction of delivering coffee to the boss. From my research into existing film noir, I found that the femme fatale often had two sides. The innocent and scared side used to get help from the fall guy, as well as the devious and manipulative side, which serves to initially entice the audience and win their sympathy before revealing the true character, something that I feel is achieved through our film. The character of Laura within the neo-noir Brick initially displays signs of wanting to help the protagonist rather than being in need of help from him, but it is revealed within the last scene that she was the cause of someone's death. Interestingly, the audience is still not totally bereft of sympathy for the character in the end, but within ours they should be. In looking at the costumes used for Laura in Brick, I found that she was not dressed in clothes stereotypically associated with the femme fatale, aside from her red dress at the beginning. This is something we incorporated into our costume for Robin, as aside from the red of her coat she may not be easily recognisable as a femme fatale, which echoes the character's deception. We did, however, receive criticism that our character of Jade was costumed in a more femme fatale-like way, but I feel that reflected Scott's distrust of her throughout the film and worked very well. Our character of Robin is quite close in motives to Mattie Walker of Body Heat, in that she sets up the fall guy in order to escape with a lot of money, after initially winning the heart of the protagonist with a plea for help. Our character of Jade serves as the nice girl of The Correspondent as she attempts to help Scott get out of the trouble he is in. She could be likened to the character of Sue within Detour, as she is depicted as the protagonist's nice girlfriend in comparison to the femme fatale Vera. Jade could additionally be likened to the character of Jane within Stranger on the Third Floor, in that both characters tried to help the fall guy, although, unlike Jade in our film, Jane succeeds. Jade's warning within The Correspondent serves to create irony, as hints are given as to the devious nature of Robin, for example the use of music. But Scott refuses to believe that Robin has set him up, and in the conclusion of our film, the audience truly realises that Jade was right all along. Generally, within classic film noir, women serve as either the femme fatale or merely the girlfriend of the protagonist, and more often than not are drastically inferior to the men in the films. Within The Correspondent, we chose to have the boss of the press office be female in order to subvert the depiction of inferior women. I felt that this was necessary for a neo-noir, as within our society women have been increasing power, and are perhaps more likely to be working than a female in the classic period. It was also deemed important to have a character in a superior position to Robin, and I feel that worked well in the establishment of characters. Despite the boss being in a superior position to Robin within the workplace, in terms of our narrative, the femme fatale has a more dominant presence, which is indicated through the fact that the boss is shown to be out of focus, which additionally allows for a sense of ambiguity to be created. The use of smoking is very common within the style of film noir, particularly within the classic period. To a contemporary audience, cigarette smoking no longer evokes the glamour that it used to. This works well within our film because smoking generally has negative connotations, and our depiction of the femme fatale smoking hints at her untrustworthy nature. Themes of crime and deceit are central to the film noirs I have watched, so it was certainly something we wanted to reflect in The Correspondent. The theme most prevalent within our film is the deceit of the femme fatale and the idea of the darker side of Cambridge, where our film is set, in relation to a drug story that is being worked on by Robin. The dark nature of our film is aided through our colour palette, which we created using the colour corrector on Final Cut Pro. Through raising the contrast and toning down the saturation of our clips, we were able to create a dark and mysterious tone, which totally transforms the film. The generally recognised music genre associated with classic noir is jazz and blues, which I found to be strongly prevalent within the examples I watched. However, as we were creating a neo-noir, I didn't think that classic jazz would be appropriate. In order to decide on the music we wanted to use, I put together some videos with different music examples that can be found on my blog. In the end, the pieces of music we chose were Alt J, Intro and Blood Flood, Los Campesinos, Tiptoe Through the True Bits, Slipknot, Prelude, Instrumental, and Rise to the Sun by Alabama Shakes. I felt that the use of contemporary music works very well and really helped the setting of the mood within the film. Overall, I found that looking at existing film noirs was the most helpful part of my research. I certainly found that it allowed me to recognise the convention of film noir that I wanted to use, as well as the ones that I didn't want to use, because there were some things that we didn't feel necessary, such as the use of extreme weather in films such as Body Heat. We haven't got extreme weather within ours, but it's still very film noir. So there are some elements of the classic noir that we've kept, like smoking and things like that. And I think that they work really well. You can see that it's a film noir despite not every single convention being there, which is nice. And yeah, it was certainly the most helpful part of my research. I found that it made me more aware of film noir as a genre, and yeah, I've really enjoyed doing it.